that moves you. It could only be one place. Universal Broadcasting Network. Tune in at ubnradio.com.
Real life isn't always easy. Real life brings tough questions and difficult decisions. That's why there's Compassionate Conversation with Catherine Tull.
Say what you need to say. Say what you need to say.
Every Wednesday at 11 a.m. Pacific, a show about life and the choices we make. Compassionate Conversation with Catherine Tull on ubnradio.com.
Hi, everybody. This is Catherine Tull, your host for Compassionate Conversation. Back with you again on the week before Christmas. I know that many of you are in places all over the world. You may or may not celebrate Christmas, but here in Los Angeles, I am a good little Jewish girl by birth who celebrates Christmas with a lot of gusto and enthusiasm. So I am very excited to be with you, and I have a very special show for you today. Every week we talk about compassion and what it means to be compassionate in your life, how to be more tender-hearted with yourself, more giving to yourself, more tender and understanding of your own process, and how to extend that to other people in your life, how to be understanding of the fact that everyone is walking their own path in their own perfect time. We are each on our own journey, and we each have a different pace that we follow. And so with Compassionate Conversation, what I hope to help you realize is that with every step you take, you are moving in a forward direction. Even if sometimes it feels sideways or even backwards, we are always growing, evolving, and unfolding. And having more compassion for yourself and for others means accepting that that may look awkward, it may feel awkward, yet we are all, as human beings, part of one family, traveling on a journey where we need to allow each other time and space and love as we travel together. In the spirit of that, we have been talking about giving all month on Compassionate Conversation, and I'm so thrilled and honored to have a very, very special teacher and mentor and guide with us today by telephone, my friend and teacher, Hans King. Good morning, Hans. Oh, he's going to be on in just a minute. Okay. I thought he was already on the line. So let me introduce you a little bit to Hans. Hans has for over 50 years been sharing his extraordinary talent, which is the ability to communicate with the realm of spirit. He works in partnership with his guidance to bring through information that is relevant to your life. And I have had the personal privilege of taking a weekend-long class with Hans in which he was teaching us how to get more in touch with the communication that is always available to all of us from the invisible realm. And with my teachings from Hans, I have been able to get much more in tune with my own intuition, not necessarily in terms of making decisions as clearly as I'd like to all the time, but I frequently and with increasing frequency have a sense of what is about to happen. For example, the other day I had a couple coming in, and I knew half an hour before they came in, a very clear voice said to me, she's going to say this and need to talk about this. And the minute this couple walked in my front door, they sat down, and within a minute, that's exactly what she said to me. And I thought of Hans immediately, because it was in taking Hans's class that I really began to accept that those voice feelings that I have, it's not like I really hear a voice in my head, but that those deeply intuitive feelings that I have learned to begin to trust. And it sounds like Hans is on the line with me now. Good morning, Hans. Welcome to Compassionate Conversation.
Thank you. What a blessing to see a student with this beautiful show that you have and all the wonderful people that are listening. I think the greatest gift that we have is when we recognize how close we are to the spirit, that they're not way over there, they're not at somebody else's house, but you too can be right with them and receive information.
Yes, absolutely. And it was a remarkable weekend that I spent in your class. And I think that was already a couple of years ago. And I have had the pleasure of seeing you occasionally at various events. Tell me a little bit about how the process of being in touch with the invisible realm, how did that start for you, Hans?
Oh, my goodness, girl. Probably back in the days of Noah's Ark for me. But it started a very, very long time ago. I was about 3 years old. And I can remember seeing, just as clear as day, people that other people couldn't see, and hearing people that other people couldn't hear. Now,
Oh, my goodness.
in those days, that was a big, suspect. What do you mean? He has an imaginary friend. Well, I did, but that imaginary friend knew things about my neighbors and family members, and knew what was going to be happening. So from about 3 to 7, everybody was, So what do you think about this? And what do you think about that? And it, for me, Catherine, it just always has been.
It just always has been. And even as a
Always.
very
And it's
young
such a
child,
blessing.
and even as a very young child, Hans, it sounds like you were very aware of the fact that you were receiving information that other people weren't receiving, or that they were not aware of being able to receive.
And as a wonderful therapist, you know, sometimes children have a wonderful imagination.
Yes.
Except this was not that. And as time went along, somebody wrote an article about me saying Mr. and Mrs. King have a very strange son.
Oh.
And I was sort of always a bit strange, always a bit different, if you will, because nobody could see or hear what I could see or hear, so I really didn't have a point of reference with anybody else. So I was very much a person who listened to the Spirit, and they were always so kind. The epitome of kindness, Catherine.
The Spirit
Never
that would
happened to
communicate?
judge, but never saying a bad thing, never.
The Spirit that would communicate with you was always very kind and not judgmental.
Never. I've never to this day, and I've done over 57,000 readings, and I have never to this day heard Spirit say a bad thing about anyone.
Oh, how beautiful.
Never.
So, Hans, on my show, Compassionate Conversation, because it is the holiday season, and in westernized cultures, the holidays have become very much about the material, about rushing around, shopping, trying to buy things for people, giving people things that fit in boxes.
It's so discouraging, Catherine. It's so very discouraging, honestly.
And that's why I was so excited that you would come on the show with me today. Today is my last day in studio before I take a couple of weeks to spend time with family. And of all the people that I know, I think that you are one of the few that I know personally that communicate so very directly with what I call the invisible realm. And because I have been talking all month long about giving, what that means to people, how it feels to give, and I would love for you to talk to us about what it feels like for you to be so rich with gifts of the Spirit, that you are in communication with the spirit realm so constantly. When you and I said hello, I want to share this with my listeners. When you and I said hello just very briefly before the show started, Hans said to me, "Good morning, Catherine. You look lovely." And I asked Hans, "Are you looking at my photograph or are you looking at my heart?" And Hans, you lovingly said to me very much that you were looking at my heart. You were not looking at my photograph.
No.
And so I really loved that.
Early on, what the Spirit always taught me was compassion, non-judgment. That every person, every individual, wherever their space is, whatever they're doing, is of equal value to any other person walking on the planet today.
Yes.
God does not have favorites, whatever you consider God to be. The God force doesn't love anyone more in the world than each and every one of the listeners today on the show.
Right.
And when you begin to work with that energy, there's just this, I don't want to get too airy-fairy about it, but it's just this wonderful awakening. Every morning I say, thank you for letting me be here today. And I always look out a window to find a tree or a bird or something.
Yes.
And thank God for that. And every day that I wake up, I ask God to help me this day make a difference
Yes.
in just one person that I come across in this day. And that's how I've lived. And the Spirit has taught me how precious each and every soul is. And they've taught me how to learn to separate the illusion of what they've created in the life that's going on that may be disturbing them from that little baby angel who they actually are.
Oh,
Because
lovely.
as you know, we are actually baby angels in human form, not a human form with an angel attachment. So once you begin to click with that energy, then the Spirit reaches out their hand, and you can walk through life in a pretty good state of understanding how precious you are and how much that Spirit, those guides, those angels love you. And you're never alone. But I think my father, God rest his soul, used to, every day he would say to me, I just need to make one person smile today. I've had a good day.
Oh, lovely.
And that's what he did. That's what he did. He became a walking comedian. And every day he would make people smile. And so every day I try to lift just a little sadness that may be surrounding a person's heart. Perhaps they're feeling lonely, perhaps they're feeling abandoned, perhaps they're in fear of a job-related problem or not having a job. But if you can learn to talk to the actual person, the angel, not the human, because the human is a mess. But if you can talk to the little angel and just say something like, you know, you're going to be okay, and you're going to come through this. And boy, watch and see what happens down the road. That's a true statement for anyone.
Hans,
And if you could learn to help people to sort of see past what they've created.
yes. I was just wondering, do you ever have the experience when you share in that way, and even if it's that briefly, if you say to somebody, you know, you're going to be okay and you're going to get through this, do you ever have people respond to you in a defensive kind of manner?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes, because when you do that, there's a momentary sense of being seen.
Yes.
And when people are seen, they get fearful they're not safe.
Right. That's exactly what I was wondering about.
Yeah. So you have to sort of approach it. I'm so open about it that any resistance in the beginning sort of melts away. I was in this at this birthday party here in North Carolina the other day.
Hans, hang on just 1 second. I'm sorry, we're having a little bit of technical interference. For all of my listeners, Hans, where are you actually located today?
I'm in Asheville, North Carolina.
So Hans is calling from across the country in Asheville, North Carolina, which I have actually been to one time. And so we're having a little bit of technical difficulty, I guess, with the satellite transmission or something between us. And the connection was starting to break up. And everything that you say is so rich with love. The energy that is in the studio with us right now is just so rich. My producer and engineer, John Williams. Good morning, John. John.
Good morning.
John is also very much a spiritual person, a person of the heart. John does his own show called Kindred Spirits and is very much in touch with the invisible realm and does a lot of his own work. So, John, do you feel the energy that's in the studio
definitely.
with us today?
I can hear it just from his voice alone, and just it's like a communion that's taking place here of spirit. Yeah.
Yes, it's
We're
really
having a love
beautiful.
fest.
Exactly. I love
We
fest.
are. I wish there was something we could.
Love Fest.
Well, sometimes I have noticed that when we do get in touch with spiritual realm, there is technical interference that happens. Those electromagnetic kind of things that happens, and
It really does happen.
and now it's clearing up, and I'm getting the
Okay,
chills.
good.
So I feel there's intervention that's taking place. So there
Okay,
you go.
wonderful.
I think
All
they just
right.
wanted to be acknowledged.
Okay, so we know
Yes,
that.
I'm acknowledging them. They are here.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
we
Yeah.
build an energy, and sometimes it absolutely does interfere
Yeah.
with the broadcast.
So Hans, you were beginning to tell us a story when I asked you to just hold on for a quick second, but please go ahead. Or whatever
I have
spirit
no
is.
idea what I was about to say.
So, since the spirits wanted to be acknowledged and be with us and called upon into this conversation, is there anything that they would like to share right now with us?
Well, I think what they want to do is say something to you.
Okay.
And that something is you were born clairsentient, as you probably know, and you have clairvoyant overtones to that. You also are possessed with some healing energy, which the Spirit would like you to open a bit more.
Ah.
And they tell me that your life's mantra, your life's purpose, is I choose to serve, I choose to make a difference. But there's a caveat that says, and my soul has something to say.
Ah.
So they're encouraging you to get on with the book.
All right. Wonderful.
I'm sure you know what that means, okay?
Yes,
They're
wonderful.
encouraging
Thank
you to get on with the book. And there's a father figure here in the spirit world. I thought your father was still alive.
My father is still alive, and that's very interesting. My father doesn't talk to me. He hasn't wanted
Yes.
to be in relationship with me for the last 10 years, which has been a source.
Not your problem. I have your father's father in the spirit world. Did you know him?
I only met him once in my lifetime, but I did know him, yes.
He says that this has nothing to do with you. This is about him. And the fact that he never got to know you is because he never got to know himself. So you need to free yourself from any guilt, because any action you had with your father was actually a reaction, was it not?
Yes, of course.
Okay. So there's no, from what I can see, because you are an angel in human form, and I cannot see where you set out to hurt your father. I don't think that your father set out to hurt you either. I think he's just, may I say, a bit of a misguided soul.
Yes.
And his life has not shown up in his expectations there. But we love him because of the angel that he is. He fulfilled the contract with your mother to bring you into this world.
Yes.
And as an old soul, your primary lesson will be self-esteem, or the value of your own soul. So you would have been lined up, believe it or not, by you to be rejected at some level in the beginning.
That's certainly been what I created.
Yes, it is. And I remember when they told me that, and I said, you could go pound sand. I mean, I didn't do that, you know. And yes, I did, and yes, you did. But it's out of those old soul experience of rejection that we get the incredible healers and teachers
Yes.
that are out there today.
I'm so
find something
grateful.
interesting. Someone
Yes.
once said to me, you know, you do teach what you need to learn.
Yes. Absolutely. I'm so grateful to you for saying that, Hans. I have actually created significant rejection in my life on 3 separate occasions now by primary relationships. I have been married to 2 different men by whom I was rejected, and then the most profound rejection occurred with my own father when about 10 years ago he really began to sever our relationship and has chosen to have absolutely nothing to do with me now for many, many years, in spite of me reaching out on many, many occasions through phone calls, through
I would
cards.
not reach out anymore, sweetheart.
Don't reach out
I
anymore.
wouldn't reach out anymore. However, as your daddy approaches his end on this side, there's a very good chance you will hear from him. That call I would take.
Yes.
But in the meantime, I need you to understand that the husbands were individuals that were life soulmate friends. They were people who came into your life, they didn't know they did this, to be mirrors. For you to learn how to rise above the appearance of all of this, to be better than the way you were treated.
Yes.
And therefore, I have to say to you, one day, my mother didn't speak to me for 31 years before she died.
Wow.
And I used to say to my friends, the only time I'll ever hear from that group of people is when they want me to bury my mother. And that was absolutely the truth. That's exactly what happened, and I did. And I was happy to be able to do so. But she didn't like me.
We're getting some more interference, and I'm wondering who's visiting us right now.
All right, who's trying to get in here to give us some maybe it's my mother.
That's exactly what I was wondering. As soon as you started to talk about her, the signal began to interrupt.
Yeah, she does that often. She turned on a bunch of lights one day in a big auditorium when it got to her name.
Huh.
She had a very unhappy life. I did not show up in her expectations of how I needed to be so she could be okay with me.
Well, to Hans's mom, we all acknowledge you for having brought this magnificent being into the world and are grateful for that.
I would not be. When my mother died, I returned to my home in Puerto Vallarta. I was sitting on the deck looking out the ocean. And a tear came down my face, and I just said to Spirit these words, why? What was the point in all of this? And he said to me, my guide, he said, you should get on the ground and kiss your mother's feet for the lesson that she didn't know she was teaching you.
Yes.
You are a better person in service because of your mother.
And Hans, I feel that very way about my father, too. And I can only imagine what the process that you might have gone through. 31 years is a lifetime for some people. And I know what my process has been for the last 10 years. And I do recognize the growth and the extraordinary gift that I have received as a result of the severing of these important relationships that I've had in my life. And I have so much gratitude for each and every one of those relationships and the people in those relationships that brought me the opportunity to have this growth.
Absolutely. And Catherine, as a therapist, you know this statement, wherein you'll say to a client, this whole situation was never a matter of who you are. It was a matter of where they were at.
Yes, and I do work with that with my clients constantly, and it is very hard for people to learn that the way somebody reacts to you is never about you. It is always about them. But I will say,
one of the things I said in your class is I said to you, I remember saying, who someone is and their behavior are two different things.
Yes. I remember standing in front of you, Hans. You gave us all the opportunity to come up, whoever wanted to, and I remember standing in front of you and sharing a vision. And what you said to me in that moment what I remember you saying to me is that there were birds, sweet birds, flying around my head and singing, and that they were some of the angels that are always with me, and that I should never forget that those sweet singing guides are always with me. And I've never forgotten you saying that.
Well, Catherine, you're never alone. Sometimes we all sense, does anybody hear me?
Yes.
Does anybody love me?
Yes.
But I would say to you and your friend in the studio there and all of the people listening, there is never a moment or a time in the day where the Spirit is not aware of your thoughts, aware of what you need. They don't listen to your private thinking. There's no purpose in that. However, they do know what your lesson is. You have a copy of it. They have a copy of it. Called your Dharma.
Yes.
Your job is to tell Spirit what you would like the experience of, and their job is to fund the energy that provides the doors that lead to that eventuality.
Yes.
If I could say something
Yes,
real quick.
please, John.
Well, I've always felt like the adversaries in our life, the way of changing the perspective on that is to realize that they loved us enough to play that role to help us grow.
Yes, that's correct.
Yes.
Because they didn't have to choose that role.
Yeah. Yeah.
They didn't have to do that. So they're loving you by playing a role of rejection.
Yes.
Which is difficult while you're
perhaps,
here.
You know, and we've all been there.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Yes, that's a beautiful perspective.
It
John.
kind of helps a little bit with the healing process when you're
Yes.
trying to forgive and stuff, when you realize that they're playing another role that
Yes.
you've sort of contracted with them.
What I would like to also, John, to say to people is I get a little crabby on the forgiveness stuff.
Oh, me too. So I'm with you.
Because,
Yeah.
no, and this is my logic, and
Uh-huh.
everybody has their own way of viewing this.
Mm-hmm.
If you never did anything intentionally to hurt somebody, why would you apologize?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And if somebody has done something bad to you, why do you need to forgive them?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, please go on.
You,
Yes, please keep going, Hans.
because if you're a spiritual being, you know that the reaction that somebody's having of you has nothing to do with you.
Right.
That's their pain. That's their built-in defense mechanism.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I said the other night I went to this birthday party, and I'm sitting there, and the spirit said something to this nice man, and if you know me, I just say it doesn't matter. So I said something to him that was absolutely the truth, and he admitted that it was, and a few other things. And we're going along, and the evening was long, and he came and sat down next to me. He said, "I need to tell you how uncomfortable I am with you, and I want you to leave my party."
Oh, my.
And I said, "Well, certainly." He said, "How dare you psychoanalyze me?" I said, "Sir, you asked me the question."
Mm.
But see, he didn't want to be responsible for looking at the pain that he put himself in,
Right.
you see.
Of course.
So I think that's the first time in my whole life that ever happened. And for a moment it caused me to sit back and say, wow, what was my intention? And my intention was pure, and my intention was good. So this is why I'm saying to everyone, if you wake up every morning with an intention to bring light into the situation around you, the Spirit will walk with you. And there may be very, very, very dark moments in all of our lives.
Yes.
I've certainly had, losing my partner of 47 years. That's a pain.
Oh, my goodness, yes.
And how does one get through that? One gets through that because one knows the consciousness of the individual has survived, and that person didn't go somewhere I'm not.
Yes.
Right.
You see? That person completed their dharma. That was our agreement, and I'm moving on to complete my part of the dharma.
I wonder if that's your
So-
partner who's trying to talk to us right now, because as soon as you started talking about that, the signal interfered again.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's just what happens with me in radio shows. I'm really sorry. All right, I'm going to say to everybody on the other side, will you please knock it off? Okay? We get to the point here.
I just know that everything that you are sharing with us, Hans, is so valuable, because you are indeed speaking to very universal experiences of the pains that almost all of us do go through on this human journey.
Yeah.
And certainly the deep, deep pain of losing a lifelong partner is extraordinary. And I will say, having ended 2 relationships that I thought were going to be lifelong relationships, I also recognize, and I know you do as well, what an extraordinary blessing to have spent so much of a lifetime with one individual in love, partnership, companionship.
Absolutely. You know, one of the ways I say to people, when you see that for either your partner or you, the relationship is running out of steam, and you can see it and you can feel it.
Yes.
As painful as this advice may be, it works. Sit down with that individual.
Say that
to
again. That you can tell when a relationship is running out of steam.
You can tell when the end of the energy, when the energy is running out, you can tell.
Yes.
Because you start to try to reinforce the relationship constantly.
Yes.
Or you know that something's not the way it should be. At that moment, sit down with your partner and say something like this. First of all, I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for coming into my life. You have given me an opportunity to have the greatest gift, and that was the love of you.
Yes.
I see that this isn't working anymore the way we would like it to work. But I want you to know that in this time we have spent, I would not have rather spent my time with anybody else but you.
Oh, that's
I
beautiful.
wish you love and happiness, and I'll always be here for you, but I see where we're going, and let's do this in a loving, compassionate way.
Yes.
Because how can we go from loving someone so much, standing around throwing stones at each other?
Yes,
It's
exactly.
our ego that gets bruised.
Yes, and I've been in both of those situations actually. So I've had the opportunity to live through both of those exact scenarios, and it is absolutely possible to recognize the end of a relationship and say to one another in compassion, we have shared so much love, and now it's time to go do that with other people because it isn't here anymore. So
That's right.
yeah.
You know, many years ago, I had an opportunity to go to a place called something, I think it's pronounced Ayutthaya, to the north of Bangkok, to a beautiful, magnificent Buddhist temple. And they were replacing the tiles on the temple, and for a couple of, they call it baht, which is like $1, they would give you one of the beautiful tiles and a pen or a pencil, and you could write your name and the date on it, and then it was affixed to the temple.
Oh my
You could
goodness.
add your loving energy to it. And there was this elderly Buddhist monk there, wonderful man. And he looked at me and said, "You are a spiritual teacher, are you not?" I said, "Well, yes, sir, I am." And we got to talking, and I went on and on about something had happened, and I was kind of distressed about it, and it was with a family member. And he stopped me. He said, "Son, you of all people should know there is nothing wrong here. It's only your perception of the moment that creates the pain in your own heart."
Yes.
And I realized that my mind was making up all of these things, none of which was true. Have you ever noticed we never worry about the moment, we always worry about what might happen?
Or what did happen.
Or what did happen? You can't do anything about either one of them.
That's right.
I love that song, "Don't Worry, Be Happy."
Yes.
You know, it's true. But I think, Catherine, as you go along, there will be some new old doors opening for you over the next 16 to 18 months that might very much surprise you
Wonderful.
in ways that you have given up on.
Oh, interesting. Interesting. Well, I stand ready, willing, and available.
There's my girl.
Absolutely. It is my constant affirmation. I am ready, willing, and available to grow into all that I am here to be and more than I could ever imagine. So I love
But
hearing
you have
that.
to also recognize, young lady, that who you are right now is absolutely perfect. There's nothing you can do, or John, you either. Kids, there's nothing you can do to make you better for God than who you are at this moment. God did not make a mistake when you were born.
Thank you.
You came into this world whole and complete. What you did choose are a specific set of lessons that you wanted to work on.
Yes.
But those lessons will not make you better for God. Nothing that you can acquire, nothing that you're ever going to do will ever make you better. And there's no such word in spirit as successful.
Oh, beautiful.
You either are successful or you are not. You can never attain success. You bring the success of your own individuality to your endeavor, not the other way around.
Yes.
See, we're always taught that you have to have more education. We're taught that you have to have more resources. We're taught that you have to live in a bigger house and drive a better car in order to be somebody.
Right.
Well, I have news for everybody out there. You already are somebody as far as God is concerned.
Absolutely. What a gift you're
You know,
giving to all
some
of
years
us.
ago, baby, and then I'll stop talking so much. Some years ago, I did a special for PBS, and it was called "You Are Enough." And I don't know whether you've ever had a chance to listen to it. But in the opening part of it, it says, what if you woke up tomorrow morning and you found out that just who you are right now is enough for God? There's nothing you need to do, nowhere you need to go, nothing you need to become, that who you are right now is enough for God. I was talking with Alan Cohen. I don't know if you know who he is.
I
but
do, yes.
He's a really big person in our work, and I was on his radio show the other day. And he said, Hans, that just tears me apart. He said, you know, if we could get everyone to just hear that one thing, you are enough. He said people would stop the insanity.
Absolutely. Yes, it's
they would
absolutely
start giving
true.
and be more compassionate.
Mm-hmm.
It's absolutely true. I do talk about that quite a bit. And of course, as you said earlier, we are here to teach what we need, or we teach what we need to learn. And you mentioned even earlier than that, that one of the things that that I came in to learn and to work on was self-value. And I have, in fact, already published one book about that, because I did recognize that that was a very big piece of the lesson that I was working on and that I was supposed to share with other people. And I continue to do a lot of work around that, because we do lose sight of the awareness that we are enough and that we are always loved by the Supreme Consciousness, no matter what is going on around us, that we are in fact love and we are always loved. But in the human realm, we get so caught up in the circumstance and the condition and the events that the surface mind dwells on that, and it dwells on, oh my gosh, what are they thinking? What are they thinking of me? What do I think of them? And how could they do that to me? And what do I want to do back to them? And we just get completely carried away on this thought storm that has nothing to do with who we really are, and the fact that we really are love incarnate and here to give and receive more of that with other people. And I say to my clients often, imagine what your life would be like if you just could wake up every day knowing that you are enough. And it is the hardest thing for people to grasp, I think, because others, we were talking earlier about my father, Hans, and thank you so much, Grandpa Walter, for sharing through Hans about that, because I really appreciate that. And you were reminding me that his reaction to me, his treatment of me, the position that he took with me really is about his own process, and it's not about me. And that he had not discovered enough of himself in his lifetime, and so he could not discover me. He could not get to know me because he hadn't gotten to know himself. And so what if we could wake up every day instead of feeling like, because often I even catch myself saying, and not intentionally, but, you know, kind of unconsciously saying, I want to get to know myself better. I want deeper insight. I want more self-realization, which of course implies that I don't already know that.
Right, exactly.
So what if we could wake up every day just affirming, I know that I am love. I know that I am wonderful. I know that I am of the Spirit, that I am whole, perfect, and complete, and that I am here alive in this day to give of my gifts and talents. What if we could all wake up knowing that every day? The world would be a completely different place.
Absolutely it would.
You know, I'm looking at...
You know, and remember always, that you were instrumental. I was instrumental in setting up these lessons for these people to do these things to us.
Absolutely.
We were part of the planning.
You know, that whole concept is kind of a whole nother piece of the conversation. I'm just looking at the studio clock, noticing, Hans, that I have been encouraging you to speak without giving you a moment's break to get a drink of water or anything. We are down to the last little bit of the show. I'm going to take a quick station break for just a moment, give you a chance to have a drink of water, and the listeners can have a drink of water, and then we'll be right back. So don't go away. We're coming right back to more compassionate conversation with my beautiful teacher and mentor, Hans Christian King. Stay tuned. We're going to be talking more about gifts of the Spirit. We'll be right back. Hi, this is Catherine Tull, licensed psychotherapist. Life can be complex, and your thoughts about it matter. If you've ever felt stuck and wanted answers, I'm available to help. Through my private practice in Los Angeles, by Skype and by phone, and through my book, The Next Bold Step, help is available. The Next Bold Step, learning to love and value yourself and know that you matter, is your roadmap to deeper self-understanding and moving ahead. contact me at catherinetull.com. Better tomorrows are waiting.
Real life isn't always easy. Real life brings tough questions and difficult decisions. That's why there's Compassionate Conversation with Catherine Tull.
Say what you need to say. Say what you need to say.
Every Wednesday at 11 a.m. Pacific, a show about life and the choices we make. Compassionate Conversation with Catherine Tull on ubnradio.com.
Welcome back to Compassionate Conversation. I'm Catherine Tull, licensed psychotherapist. On the line today with magnificent Hans Christian King, who is so graciously accepted to be our guest and our teacher today as I wrap up my show for the holiday season. And we've been given a gift by the station, Hans, so we have permission to go a few minutes longer since we've had some technical visitation by the other realm. So it's wonderful we don't have to...
I'm not going anywhere.
Thank you.
I have a house full of people tonight, but outside of that, I'm not going anywhere.
You know, it's lovely that you're in Asheville. I was in Asheville many years ago. In 2000, I was given the remarkable opportunity to participate in an outward-bound backpacking trip. I had never been backpacking before in my life. I had never been rock climbing. I had never been taught to do survival camping. And with a group of 7 women, we went survival camping in the Pisgah National Forest, and I was flown in and out of Asheville, and that's how I know where Asheville, North Carolina is. And it was an absolutely pivotal week of my life. That was the week where I got the inspiration to be the healer that I am, where the knowledge was delivered to me so powerfully. I was literally hanging off the face of a rock by nothing but a climbing line, and I was poised there holding on to my climbing line at the top of this rock face, and I was looking out at the Pisgah National Forest. It was October. The trees were changing colors. It was one of the most breathtaking sights I have ever seen in my whole life, and it brings me to tears just to remember I was so profoundly touched at the purpose of my life and why I had experienced the things I had, why I had survived a life-threatening event at the hands of my former husband, why I had brought these magnificent children into the world to be my teachers and companions and guides and helpmates along this journey. I was so profoundly moved, and I was literally just poised, hanging there on the face of a rock in North Carolina. And so it touches me that that's where you are this morning and that our communication is happening, because that is very sacred ground there. I know that was...
It really is.
That was Native American territory. I remember the experience of my footsteps falling on the earth and feeling the presence of the ancestors, feeling the presence of my earlier and your earlier people, because we are all one, regardless of the color of our skin or the color or texture of our hair. We are all one. We are all part of a set of ancestry that has delivered us and continues to deliver us into more and more awareness and consciousness. And it was just a profound experience to be there. And so I'm so grateful that that's where you're calling from today, Hans. And I'm sure that that is a part of all of the energy that we're experiencing during this broadcast this morning.
Probably it is. I've been fortunate to have a home here since 1988. And my father, he used to say that people would say to him, because he was from Los Angeles, they used to say, "How does it feel to own 1,000 trees?"
Wow,
That's a dream. And my father would say, "I don't own 1,000 trees. You can't own 1,000 trees." He says, "I'm here to take care of them, but I don't own them."
Right.
And he always thought that he was a caretaker for the land.
Yes. And that's
we even have a little bear that comes by every evening.
Oh, lovely.
A little female. She's the runt, and she's about 2 years old now. But she comes by to visit, and We have raccoons and possums and squirrels and you name it, we've got it.
How beautiful.
And I wake up whether it's snowing or whether it's 92 degrees outside to feed all these critters.
I remember that the last night we were there, Hans, we slept in an open meadow. It was 22 degrees. Now, I've been raised in Los Angeles. I'm very thin-blooded.
So was I.
So when it's anything below 60, I'm cold. In fact, right now the air conditioning is turned up in our radio studio, and I'm kind of shivering a little
Oh,
bit.
my goodness. Well, right now, this morning I woke up, and it was 22 degrees. But with the wind chill factor, we have quite a wind blowing from Canada. With the wind chill factor, it was 16.
Oh, my goodness.
And so I went to let my little Shih Tzu puppy out the door, and she just sat down and looked at me and like, I don't think so. I don't have my sweater on. So I had to put her sweater on, and then she went outside.
Oh. What a remarkable way of life. You know, you've shared so many things with us that are gifts of the Spirit, knowing within yourself, for us all to know within ourselves that Spirit is always with us, that we are never alone, that we are always...
Never.
Never. And more often, Hans, I am aware of angels with me. I feel their presence around me. I have a wonderful parking angel that is with me everywhere I go.
Oh, my God. Worth their weight in gold, aren't they?
And I have a magnificent driving angel that gets me to where I need to go on time. I have these beautiful, gentle angels that are with me when I am with my clients, that I almost always have the experience that I am being spoken through, that I am...
That's a beautiful way of putting it, Catherine.
That I am being spoken through, so that there is something for my clients to hear that is not mine. It is more than mine. It is being delivered through me, that I am the recipient and the vessel and the conduit for that. And I am so grateful to be able to work that way with my clients. And it is funny because sometimes, of course, you know, I have extensive clinical training and extensive clinical preparation and background for my work. So the knowledge of all of that kicks in too. And there's a really different vibration for me when I am working with people between when it is that intellectually based knowledge and when it really is something that is being spoken through me. And I can catch myself kind of being caught up in intellectual knowledge, and I will hear myself say, whoops, I want to get back on track. I want to deliver from the heart, not from the book, not from the textbook, not from the encyclopedia of the information I have learned, but I want to deliver from the heart. And so I really call myself back into place as that is occurring. Does that make sense?
Totally makes sense to me.
Oh, absolutely makes sense. Absolutely. So they speak through you. You said you wanted to serve and make a difference.
Yes.
They said they would give you the gift, and you have the gift. And you've dedicated yourself. And because you've done that, you have three remarkable individuals who walk with you always. You know, once I look at people and I say, you don't think you have angels? Have you ever tried to drive from Torrance to Santa Monica? Have you ever tried to drive from Palm Springs to Agape? Okay. And somehow, we're just not that clever, and somehow the parking genies, the parking angels get us there safely.
That's right, they do.
That's why I involve them in everything. You know, of course, I have my own decisions, and they cringe periodically when I say something, but I've sort of, I think I have some good brownie points now, so I can get by with stuff every once in a while I shouldn't get by with. But you're doing such a great job, and that very nice young man who's working with you
John
has a
yes.
very pure heart. He has a very, very pure heart.
Thank you.
Yes, he does. John is such a gift to me, to the station here at Universal Broadcasting Network, to all of my listeners, because John holds a really gentle and loving energy in the studio for me every week. And I'm very, very grateful for you, John. John, you are a big part of this show, and I appreciate that so much.
Well, there are no accidents, so he's where he needs to be, so you can be where you need to be.
That's right. That's absolutely right. In the spirit of giving, Hans, is there anything more that's being delivered to you right now that you would like to share with my audience? I have many thousands of listeners around the world. I am so grateful to each and every one of you who listen to Compassionate Conversation, who share with me this mission of my heart. This was something that I was called to do. It was something that I was inspired with. I was not hired to do this. It is not a job that was offered to me. It was absolutely an inspiration that was delivered to me, and all of the pieces fell into place. The angels brought me here. A lovely friend and colleague, Dr. Marissa Pei, invited me to meet Tony Sweet and Ann Walker, the owners of Universal Broadcasting Network, and it really was like coming into a cadre of angels. As soon as I walked in, I knew I had come home. And right now I am calling on all of the angels to open up all of the gateways to the financial means to allow Compassionate Conversation to remain on the air. It is a self-funded project. It is not something that is yet.
And I think that's important, Catherine, that people hear that again. Your love has to be paid for, and I want everybody to realize the sheer incredible love and devotion that you are giving, but it can be a bit of a financial hardship to love so much.
Thank you, Hans. I appreciate your recognition and support of that. Compassionate Conversation is a completely self-funded project. As this year, 2013, draws to a close, we absolutely are here at the show on the doorstep of welcoming your gifts and contributions and support for Compassionate Conversation. I am now welcoming financial sponsors, advertising sponsors. Compassionate Conversation requires a larger field of support than what I am able to provide for it all by myself. And I am one of those people that doesn't necessarily ask for help. So it is a big step for me.
Yes.
To
Calm down, girl. That's just love talking to me. Okay, I'm going to just stick something in here to make you feel a little better. Spirit just said to me, remind our friend she will never be a bag lady. The show will go on.
Thank you.
Okay?
So
The show will go on.
I'm so grateful for the thousands of listeners. There are more than 30,000 people around the world who listen to this show on a regular basis, which I just am overwhelmed at that number.
Catherine, why don't we do a fundraiser for the show? And I'll do readings for people calling in and give many readings.
Oh my gosh.
I will donate all of that process. And any money that comes in, I will donate to you in the show.
Oh, wow. Thank you, Hans. Oh my goodness, what a gift!
Yeah.
Thank you. That is such a generous gift.
I will send it out to my people, and let's see if we can help you make a difference.
Instant reward for being so vulnerable.
Yeah. But let's just hope that we can continue to help you to make a difference. So that's what I want to do. Anyway, it's something for you to think about. And I see we're running out of time, but I did want to say to wish all of you this incredible and wonderful, loving holiday season. And folks, don't let your mind chatter get in the way of your joy.
Thank you.
That's what tends to happen. Also, for those of you who are needing some help, on my website, hansking.com, you will find hundreds of free downloads on all kinds of subjects and conversations and things that I have done throughout the years that are very helpful to a lot of people. Don't cost anybody a nickel.
So thank you so much. Hans, you have just been remarkable. You've just given me the most extraordinary gift. So for all of my listeners and viewers, with my Compassionate Conversation family, Hans King has just generously offered to do a fundraiser for Compassionate Conversation. I guess we will structure that. I'll work with you and Alfred, Hans, and we'll figure out.
Yeah, get a hold of Alfred on that, and we'll put it together for you.
And so you'll be able to get a reading directly from Hans, and the proceeds of that will help support Compassionate Conversations so it can stay on the air. Please go to hansking.com. There are all kinds of beautiful and free resources. You can also learn more about working personally with Hans. Hans, you have just been magnificent. Thank you so much. I am so deeply grateful.
You can only have what you deserve, dear.
I am just so deeply grateful.
Oh, well, honey, like I say, my privilege. This is what I was talking about, of learning to wake up every day to make somebody happy, to do just one thing that brings a smile. And John, to you, I want to say, the best is yet to be. And that's what I heard them tell me.
Oh, thank you.
Okay?
It's been a very challenging year, so thank you very much.
Yes, but next year's going to be easier. Don't worry about money. Everything's fine.
All right.
Hans,
nobody's forgotten about you. Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you so very, very much. Happy holidays to you, to Alfred, to all of your people and your supporters and followers. Hans Christian King, you visit him at hansking.com. Happiest of holidays, Hans. My deep love and admiration and gratitude for you. Thank you so much. Have a blessed day. To all of my listeners.
And my best to the people who own that station, because I really feel that it's a blessing to have you on.
Oh,
yes, it is.
Thank you.
It is.
Thank you so much, Hans. My love and gratitude to you.
Take care now.
Thank
you, Hans.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
And so it is time for me to wish all of my listeners and followers a happy, happy, and blessed holiday.
Yes. Yes.
With my great love and gratitude, this is Catherine Tull, and I will see you again next year. Many blessings and so much love. Bye-bye.
Real life isn't always easy. Real life brings tough questions and difficult decisions. That's why there's Compassionate Conversation with Catherine Tull.
Say what you need to say. Say what you need to say.
Every Wednesday at 11 a.m. Pacific, a show about life and the choices we make. Compassionate Conversation with Catherine Tull on ubnradio.com.
I'm watching Christmas on TV and wishing you